I'm Catharine Langley, barrister at Westgate Chambers, and this is the Family Law Week bite-sized video collection. This topic will be about how to prepare a position statement for a private law children matter. So, when we come to looking at position statements, in particular in private law, it's really important that we have all together the issues that could possibly arise. So the first thing I like to do after the heading, setting out where the court will be, case number, and the name of any children, I like to then start with the introduction. So when coming to the introduction, I think it's really important to outline your full name, your instructing solicitor, firm, and if you know your opponent, to do that also. But equally, if you don't know your opponent, to also say opponent yet to be confirmed, or it's expected that the other side is a litigant in person. It just gives the court a heads up as to why somebody wasn't included in an email to the judge, or perhaps explain that the other side is in fact litigant in person. So moving on further down in the introduction, what I like to do is set out why we're here. So why are we here today? What kind of application is this? Why has it been listed? Is it on an urgent basis? For example, if it's a FHEDRA, what the issues are likely to be. If it's an urgent application for something like a prohibited steps order, you want to include whose application it is, why we're here, and the date the application was made. That information will put into reference for the court the time frame of what's gone on and where we are at now, how far since has the application been made to versus where we are today at court. After we have that, in the introduction itself, I like to include something called a statement of issues. Now, a statement of issues, why it's important is because it narrows what the problems are between both parties, and it can really focus minds to get parties to agree issues outside of court. So I'll give you an example. After the introduction heading, we have a heading that says statement of issues. And within that, I will have all the issues that I'm going to address the judge on, or that the opponent is going to address the judge on. So for example, we'll have a parental responsibility order, declaration of parentage, interim contact, if we need a Section 7 report, if we have a PSO to deal with, a specific issues order, and any directions. So the directions part normally goes towards the end, but what we have in the schedule of issues is just a list that says directions are found at paragraph X. So once we have that statement of issues, that is really where you're going to be directing everyone to in order to detail what it is your submissions are. Then we'll come on to client's position. So that will be your third subheading. Client's position will detail all of your submissions in relation to the schedule of issues as outlined above. So let's say, for example, we stick with parental responsibility. What you'd want to do there, you'd have your subheading again, parental responsibility. You'd then go into the relevant law, your submissions in terms of what you say, and any supporting evidence that you have. So that could be, for example, page references, case law, statute, anything that you say to support your point on that issue is going to want to be included in that subheading when you come to look at the schedule of issues, statement of issues per each subtopic that is relevant. So I'll give you another example. If we then move on to declaration of parentage, for example, or perhaps prohibited steps order. So if that's one of the issues you want to focus on, that will be a separate subheading. You'll address the law, you'll address the facts, you'll state your submissions, why it is you want it, or why it is you oppose. Same thing will continue if you have a fact-find hearing, for example, the law, why you want it, or why you oppose, what your client's position is. Now, the final thing you're going to want to deal with is what we discussed a moment ago, and that was the directions paragraph. Now, directions sought should usually come towards the end. So it's always very helpful if you have something that sets out what paragraph number directions are at. So that can include standard directions, such as statements, any sort of professional reports, next listing, hearing date, and any further orders that you seek in the meantime. So I believe that is all that you have to include in a position statement. Of course, if there are any updating factors that also will want to go in at the very, very top. And of course, never forget to put your name, who you act for, and the date at the very bottom. Thank you all. I hope you've enjoyed this video.